Hey nerds, Sage is here. So we're going to talk about something real brief because, well, I guess we could, and people have been bringing it up to me quite often, so I guess we'll just talk about that. But first, I want to remind you all that there is a special map to do daily orbs with, or to get daily orbs from, not do daily orbs with, but, you know, you get the idea. This time it's featuring Cavaliers. Yay! You get to kill horses. I'm sure some people are happy about that. You sickos. Anyways, hope you're having a good Tempest trial and all that fun stuff. I have not touched my Tempest trial today, so well, quote-unquote, today. It's only been 30 minutes into this day. I just got home from work and things have been hectic. But still, nonetheless, I'm here. I'm here to talk to you about something that I keep getting asked about, and it's kind of something I feel I should address just for a little bit because, well, I keep getting bugged about it, and I just don't know how to really talk outside of, well, doing a video about it. Because why not? So, the question I keep getting is pretty simple, and that is, hey Sages, have you seen the tier list? Did you see what they messed up this time? You know, from XYZ's website or something like that, be it a wiki, be it whatever. Everyone always seems to have an opinion on something. How certain characters work, how certain characters don't work, how, you know, which tier they should be at, what tier they shouldn't be at. Things like that. It's always something different, and God bless your souls, I understand that. I know you guys love it, and let me just say, you know, I'm always open for talking about things. Always, always, always. The thing that people need to realize, though, is not to get upset about tier lists because, well, obviously they are subjective. They are kind of just interpreted by opinions and tastes of others, and therefore have the bias that comes with it, you know. The most recent thing that I can really think of course, is good old defense ploy. You know, that running joke that a lot of people have run with, because, well, someone seemed to put a lot of emphasis on it in one tier list for a while, and I'm not really sure why. I mean, don't get me wrong, defense ploy is a pretty neat ability, but I tried it on Ennis here, and it works fairly well, but I tend to find myself enjoying threat and defense more. He still has it on there right now because I was using him earlier, but you still get the basic idea, right? I mean, that's just kind of how biases work, because when it comes down to tier lists, it's just simply that. I mean, so especially when it comes to heroes. We'll get into the nitty-gritty of that in a bit, but expecting certain things to just be like, oh, just tell me the basics of why this character's good, it's, well, up to synergy and up to, you know, your team, how you work with it, and what you think is good, and how you work with that. It's just, it's a really complicated process, and the thing about it is that, I don't mind it if it's subjective and people come in and they're like, okay, I really want, you know, I really see this character as good, here's my reasons why. And you know, like, to give you an example, we did tier lists. Me and Jay, or Jay and I should really, Jay and I did a tier list for every color a while ago, and we gave our reasonings for things. We explicitly stated several times that basically this was our opinion, it was up to us. You know, we obviously didn't see it as too much of a problem, but, you know, some people disagreed with a lot of our things. Like, to give an example, we rated Minerva as S+. I more see her now more as S, just as my personal standards, but I'm sure Jay will probably still see it as S+. People got upset with that, and we had, you know, that's fine. Meeting at the middle ground and discussing things is always fun to me, especially when it comes to something like this. The problem is when people come in and they insist on things being better than others. Now, Heroes is nothing like, say, a fighter where, you know, fighting games, they have tier lists, a lot of them. Tons of them. Sometimes, more often than not, they're crazy, but there are some agreed upon tier lists for things like, you know, say Melee, you know, Smash Melee, or, you know, Tekken, or things like that. Basically, the reason for that, though, is that typically characters in those games, they have a set, you know, standard. These attacks have more priority over these. These have more ranged over these. These are, you know, more powerful than this, etc., etc. So therefore, people can kind of weed out the characters that tend to be on the softer side and typically don't have that advantage that others do. It's easy to tell. The thing is, with Heroes, you can kind of see there's a massive amount of characters, and every one of these characters they can pretty much inherit every skill, or at least passive. Granted, some characters obviously have more of an advantage from stats and unique things like weapons, so therefore you do have to take that into account. But the problem here is, well, with the the advent of skill inheritance and things like that, the waters have kind of become more muddy. And I can understand that. Typically nowadays you can really make any character work if you really try hard to. It may not be the most amazing thing, but they'll work just fine. I mean, I've seen people do crazy things with 3-star units in Falter's, Grand Hero Battle, or Legion's Grand Hero Battle. 3 stars, normal free-to-play units. It's just, I think it's really odd. Of course, they're going to have a harder time with some ways, but, or have to be pinpoint precise, but it doesn't mean by any stretch that they are bad. And it always makes me wonder when someone pushes down a, agenda. Like, oh, hey, here's a character that I really, really like. I want them to be S rank or S plus rank because of that. And, I'm really not too sure why people insist on that. But I guess it's just kind of how it goes. To give you an idea of what I think should really just... When you come into a tier list or when you try to do something, it's best to always say it's subjective. It's always something based on your interest, on your opinion. And if anyone disagrees, talk to them. Dish it out a bit, just see what their opinion is on this, why they've come to this opinion, and get a better idea of how it is, because I've seen so many people argue over this, be it on Reddit or whatnot, and why it's wrong, and why something else is wrong, or this tier list from this website is wrong, etc., etc., etc. But the thing is, it's a community effort, especially for those bigger projects like Wiki, where people tend to get so flustered over things that they send a bunch of threats and stuff like that. I've seen that. I'm just here to say that we need, you need to actually understand that other people have different visions on things, and it's always very odd when I see people argue over something that is really very, it's purely opinion-based, purely based, bias in some ways, and it's just so strange to me. And I keep getting asked why I don't really bother to look at tier lists nowadays. Well, that's mostly because I think I have a decent enough grasp on how this game works, that when it comes to certain characters or certain play models, be it new character or old, I can get a basic idea of how a character will work with an old passive, an old character will work with a new passive, or a new character will work in the span of every, all the other old things that are in the game from other characters, I'm sure everyone would be like, oh, you can run Fury, every character can, but, aside from healers, of course, just saying, but still, people, they'll just always be like that. I don't, there's really no opinion I can give you. I do tier lists because it's fun. I do it because I like to try and see where I can rank them on my own personal bias, and I know it's my own personal bias. So that's just how it goes. But, I'm fine with people attacking me over it. I'm fine with people getting upset because I didn't rate the character highly, or rate a character that they find, higher than others. That's fine. Opinions are opinions, man. But I don't think there really need to be threats, or any sort of nonsense like that. You don't need to insist things. That defense ploy thing was hilarious in its own right, but I think that joke's gone and died off in some, place. Someplace far away from us. And while I did put on an Innis because I wanted to see how well it would work, that's probably not the best idea out there. Good lord, I really need to just give him threat and defense again. But it amazes me how people always, people harp on things really hard. And, I know it's a joke. And I'm always fine for a joke, and things are just strange, but whenever someone asks me have I seen something new with the tier list, I just understand, typically I don't bother to look anymore, because I like to think, yeah, there's, if I want a different opinion, I'll seek out other opinions, our Discord, other people who are part of the community, from the data miners to everything out there. If you want a new opinion, go seek it. You don't really, you can look at the tier list, but honestly, I don't really think it really matters too much nowadays. Unless you're trying to build a Henry over a Celica, in which case I'm going to have you to, you know, sit down and talk about this, because why not? But, you know, we'll always have more jokes, I'm sure. Eventually that, you know, another tier list will change, something adamant will come out of it, and we'll all have another joke. But don't take things too serious, guys. I really mean that, because I just, oh my god. Anyways, for now though, I will catch you all later. And I'm gonna go make a tier list about my thoughts and, you know, and how I feel about things. Yay!